gentlemen, we'll call the meeting to order. City Clerk, call the roll, please.
The record will reflect that all members of council are present.
Mr. City Attorney, do we have a closed session report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The council met in closed session to consider all the matters that are listed in the open agenda as closed session items. There are 4 matters that have reportable action taken on. 5 matters. 4 of the matters had the same action. The council authorized the defense of Albanali versus Newport Beach, Vermillion versus Newport Beach, Benefiel versus Newport Beach, and Katazanarite versus Newport Beach by and through the Office of the City Attorney and the use of outside counsel. As to B, main B, which is the anticipated litigation and initiation of litigation, the council affirmed and authorized the Office of the City Attorney to file nuisance abatement proceedings in the Superior Court against Mariners Mile Gateway LLC and Red Mountain Retail Group to abate the nuisances that exist at the property located approximately at Dover and PCH. No further action, reportable action taken, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Will the audience please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Selich, and the invocation, which will be led by Karl Stuckenberg of the Newport Center United Methodist Church.
Please follow me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you join me in prayer? Loving God, as our daily work leads us down so many different paths, as human beings we choose different paths of faith that lead to you, and we know that you are bigger than all of our differences. We pray for your guidance and your wisdom for our council tonight as they make decisions for our community, and we pray that they would be decisions that would work for our common good. In your name, amen.
Amen. Please be seated. We have a scheduled presentation regarding a check for Main Street trees. Is that Ken Drelishek? Please come forward.
I'll get near the mic here, if it's all right.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Members of the council, my name is Ken Drelishek. I'm here tonight as president of the Community Foundation of Balboa Peninsula Point. We're a registered 501c3 charitable foundation. We've offered our services to collect money and deliver them to you tonight in support of a tree project in Balboa Village involving replacement of failing trees in Balboa Village. I'd like to introduce the people here with me here tonight. Dick Barker is our treasurer. He collected and segregated the money to make it available so we could deliver it tonight. And behind him is Karl Morbido. He's president of the Balboa Peninsula Point Homeowners Association. He used the Homeowners Association resources to support the advertising of the campaign for the fundraising, as well as to contribute funds from the Homeowners Association as well. Not here tonight, and I'm sorry she isn't, is Cindy Duran. Cindy Duran is a resident of Balboa Peninsula Point, and she has been the driving force and had the vision for this whole program from the beginning. She's ill tonight with a back injury and couldn't make it. I'd like to believe the back injury is associated with all the heavy lifting she did on this program, because she did plenty. Starting with coordination with Mike Henn and future coordination with Mark Harmon, General Services Director, Cindy worked to develop a program involving replacement of failed trees in Balboa Village, and she worked with John Conway in the city to find an appropriate tree to replace the failed trees. After all that coordination was done, and worked out a program with Mark and Mike to develop a program in which the city would fund half if citizens would fund half of these trees, Cindy went on to pursue the fundraising aspect of the thing, working with Balboa Village Business Improvement District, with the merchants and all the residents of Balboa Peninsula Point. She managed to get the fundraising done that was necessary to accomplish the first phase of the program, which is in right now. If you go to Balboa Village now, you'll find new trees lining Main Street between Balboa Pier and the Pavilion, all as a result of this jointly funded program. So we want to present the citizens, community's portion of that check tonight, $26,753 and change, of which over $20,000 was raised in contributions, large and small, from residents of Balboa Peninsula Point. So with that, thank you very much for the joint program, and I want to remind you, those in the audience and those watching at home, that the campaign's not finished yet. There are still trees along Balboa Boulevard that are failing and need to be replaced, and the campaign is still open. Community Foundation of Balboa Peninsula Point, CFBPP, P.O. Box 4322, Balboa 92661. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Let me invite Mayor Pro Tem Henn to join me for the photograph here.
And while we're doing it, I just want to thank Ken Drelishak, who is stepping down as the chair of the Environmental Quality Affairs Committee, and he has done so much work for that organization. Thank you, Ken.
They do well. They cut them out.
Sure.
I would like to make just one quick comment about this. To me, this is a tremendous example of at least a couple of things. First, how one person can make a difference in his, or in this case, her city. Cindy Duran really was the energy behind conceiving and driving this idea to completion as just one person. And then an example of how when citizens get together, as they did in the Balboa Peninsula Point, they can expand that difference to have an even greater outcome on their city. And I would also like to thank the city staff for being such constructive and willing participants and creative participants here to help this get done. It's just a tremendous example of what can be accomplished in this age where citizens are skeptical often of their city and the staff and maybe don't feel like they can make a difference. They can make a difference. This is a great example. Thanks.
Thank you. For our next presentation, I'd like to invite Professor Ellen Olshansky, board member of the Orange County Human Relations Council, to come forward. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Newport Beach Council members and Honorable Mayor Curry. I am here tonight to update you about the role of the Orange County Human Relations played throughout Orange County, and in particular in Newport Beach over the last year. And I'd like to, actually I did present you with copies of the annual report. I think you all have that. As our economy has faltered and people have lost their homes, their jobs, and sense of security, bigotry has motivated by fear was aimed at those perceived to be different. Across the county, we have seen deteriorating civility as tempers flare and fingers are pointed. And we will face difficult tests in the future as world events and our economy impact our communities. Orange County Human Relations, in partnership with cities, charts a course to a future where we are made strong by our diversity rather than being split into warring factions based on those differences. And we do this in several ways: by mediating conflict, by creating safe, inclusive neighborhoods and schools, by developing diverse leaders, and by building understanding and respect among all residents. Many of our services are county-wide, and therefore they're not easily broken down by city, such as human relations training at the Sheriff's Academy, hate crime network trainings, human relations awards, community forums, and educational programs that are open to the public. But I would like to share the following data about some of our services over the last year in Newport Beach. In collaboration with Newport Beach Police on hate crimes and with individuals or community groups on hate incidents that were not necessarily crimes, we documented 10 hate crimes or incidents in Newport Beach in 2008. We mediated 76 cases in the community or courts where one of the parties was a resident of Newport Beach. We served Newport Beach youth with school intergroup relations, violence prevention programs. 2,682 Newport Beach youth participated in our Bridges Violence Prevention Program from both Corona Del Mar and Newport Harbor high schools. One Newport Beach youth participated in the Summer Leadership Camp or the year-long Human Relations Associates internship. And 35 Newport Beach students participated in our day-long Walk in My Shoes symposiums, both at UCI and at Cal State Fullerton, learning about respect, tolerance, and making a difference in their schools and community. We helped build a sense of community with Newport Beach residents and staff through the Hate Crime Victim Assistance Partnership. So in conclusion, let me state that our society may be tested by international events, difficult economic times, and rapidly changing demographics. By investing in this partnership between cities and Orange County Human Relations, we are taking positive steps to prepare to address those challenges to our civility and unity. OC Human Relations is proud to be a nationally recognized model for building positive intergroup relations through programs like Bridges, mediation, and community building, and we look forward to continuing to partner with Newport Beach as we go forward. By working together, we can make Orange County and Newport Beach a better place for all people to live and work. By doing so, everyone wins. And Mayor Curry, if you could step, we have a certificate. So we have a certificate in recognition of the partnership between the City of Newport Beach and Orange County Human Relations.
Thank you, Professor. We all appreciate the work the Human Relations Commission does in Orange County. We appreciate you coming down tonight. Thank you. Notice to the public. City Clerk.
The city provides a yellow sign-in card to assist in the preparation of the minutes. The completion of the card is not required in order to address the council. Speakers must limit comments to 5 minutes on agenda items. The council has a discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items. As a courtesy, please turn cell phones off or set them in the silent mode. Now is the time for council announcements or matters which council members would like placed on a future agenda for discussion, action, or report.
Thank you. Councilmember Daigle.
Yes, a couple of announcements. If you were to ask people to rank the 5 things that they most look to government at all levels to provide them, 4 of those 5 would be local. The main national thing would be security, defense, and maybe if they're seniors, Social Security. They might not even list a state service unless it's freeways or support for education K-12 and higher. Here at local government, we seem to be on the forefront. We provide police protection, paramedics, library, garage. And so we have a situation where people live locally, but in order to obtain assistance in the areas of housing, social services, health, they face a maze of programs and opportunities for help from a crazy quilt of government agencies. And so during these economic times, these difficult economic times for our residents, I've been working with a public information officer and our city manager to explore, can the city, working with the county, state, and feds and nonprofits, publicize where our residents can go to get help for Social Security, unemployment payments, and foreclosure. So we're now in the process of gathering information on assistance and identifying channels to publicize and communicate this to our residents. And so what we've come up with so far is posting information on the website, and then we're also thinking of having a table at the library. Not everyone's on the internet. And evaluating other ways to to get the word out. And then my second announcement is, at the invitation of one of my constituents, I attended an event by PAWA, which is a Persian American coalition group. And as Congressman Ed Royce pointed out, of all the immigrants, the Persian Americans have the highest percentage with advanced degrees. And so this program was about some of their achievements, including that of a woman judge who is a federal immigration judge. And when she was asked how to increase political power, her answer was, it's very fundamental. You have to stand up and be counted, and pointed out the opportunities with Census 2010. And as a city, we need to make sure that we are all counted as well. A lot of federal assistance works off formulas where population is a component. And so I've asked the city to agendize for a future study session what our efforts are with the census. And certainly, because our boundaries have changed due to annexation, we want to make sure that everyone is counted. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gardner.
EQUAC has asked that leaf blowers be considered. So, at some point, can we have a study session on that issue? They sent a request to the city, I believe.
Yes, that was back in October, and I did double-check. It's on our list for future study sessions. We just haven't found an open time for it yet.
Okay, good, as long as we haven't forgotten about it. And then our e-pay, I, of course, initially got a notice through the Internet and knew it was an Internet scam, so I totally ignored it. Can't fool me. But then I got a letter, so I figured it was on the up. And I tried to do it, to renew mine, and I couldn't do it. And it said, if you have problems, leave an email message, which I did. I never got a response. And I'm only mentioning this not because one more envelope will hurt the city, but because others may have had the same problems. We might want to send it out again, just through the email.
And for folks that are watching, if you are having problems with your e-pay, we've transitioned over to a new system, and there are clearly bumps in that road. So get on our website and shoot us an email. You could look for the Admin Services Department, and if you have any trouble there, you can shoot me an email, and I'll forward it. So point well taken, though, about getting some clarification out. Thanks.
Councilmember Webb.
Well, I notice in our audience that we have some Boy Scouts, and I'd like to just comment that the Scouting program does provide an opportunity for our youth to learn a little bit more about city government, and I really appreciate the Scouting unit that is here tonight. What troop are you from, or Scouting unit are you from? Somebody can yell it out. 746. Great. Welcome to our meeting tonight, and if you don't want to stay until the very, very end, we'll understand when you get up and leave.
Councilmember Selich.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Rosansky.
Nothing, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Henn.
I have two things. First, I wanted to let people know, particularly those that live in the coastal inundation zone for Newport Beach, that our Coastal Commission approved the installation of tsunami warning siren towers in our city. That was the last major hurdle, and now staff tells me the way is cleared for us to bid the project and erect those towers, which they are hopeful can be done before the start of the summer season. I was reminded of this again when we had tornadoes come ashore in Newport Beach, and sirens like this are actually used frequently in the Midwest and in other locations to help with those kinds of dangers. But in any event, I'm very pleased that we're able to move this project forward, and I appreciate staff's hard work to get this done, and I'll be looking forward to a ribbon cutting. And then next, in anticipation of the possibility that the council will approve the Balboa market purchase later in our agenda, I would ask that staff come back as soon as they can work it into their priorities here with a report on the steps necessary to rework that property into a surface parking lot, which would include the raising of the Balboa market building that's currently there. But to include in that report how we might address, we know we can't feasibly preserve that mural, surfer mural that's on the wall of the building, but I'd like to see if we can provide a reminder of that mural in some representative way as we do improvements to the property to make it nice looking and presentable. There was actually an initiative in that respect, I think going back to 1993 or 94, where I saw some renderings of some trellis work, and at that corner of Palm Drive and Balboa, I think there's a designated spot for the presentation of things like that, and so I'm hopeful that maybe we can work that in somehow as we go forward.
I noticed in the Daily Pilot it was reported that the artist volunteered to paint another one.
He did, and in fact, this artist, McDonald is his name, Mac McDonald. He is actually a continuing and very senior mural design artist. He works for Sony Corporation, and he does much of the work for the Disney Corporation in their theme parks. And I've seen some of his work, and it's really amazing work. He utilizes the technique called trompe-l'oeil, which is a French term for the technique that although you're painting on a flat surface, it appears to be, in all respects, a 3D scene. It's done so well in some of the museums in Europe, you can stand right next to it and not be able to tell that it's not a three-dimensional rendering. And so, anyway, that certainly is a good possibility, and we'll want to avail ourselves of the expertise of our Arts Commission as we go forward, and the community desires. I know there's a strong desire on the part of the community to see if we can somehow preserve that. And so away we go. Thanks.
Thank you. Just a couple of announcements. First of all, there's 2 days left in Restaurant Week, so if you haven't been out to a Newport Beach restaurant, take advantage of it. There's some great deals out there and some great new places to discover. We've discovered a couple this week, and I was pleased to see some good crowds. I think you'll enjoy it. Secondly, I'm pleased to make an announcement on behalf of Leadership Tomorrow. Leadership Tomorrow is a nonprofit organization which, through its programs, expands knowledge, empowers citizens, and promotes community involvement. City Council members and members of the public are cordially invited to attend the 6th Annual Celebrating Leadership Reception this coming Thursday, February 4th, from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Costa Mesa Country Club. For more information, please visit www.leadershiptomorrow.org, or for reservations, go to www.newportbeach.com/events. And then one further announcement. I had lunch at the White House last week and had the opportunity to be in Washington for the U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting, which included a trip by 120 or so of us as mayors to the White House to have a reception on the lower floor and have a East Room briefing with Secretary Geithner and with Larry Summers and Valerie Jarrett, and then following that spend about an hour with the President and the Vice President talking about issues that confront the mayors of cities. And we had every mayor there, ranging from Richard Daley from Chicago to the 21-year-old mayor of Muskogee and yours truly. But it was quite a time. And then we had the opportunity to have lunch in the state dining room following the meeting with the President. So it was quite a very interesting meeting. Mrs. Obama, the First Lady, addressed the mayors on her initiative for childhood obesity, and I will tell you it's a serious initiative and something that we should take seriously because of the lack of exercise and the poor diet by America's young people. In all, more than 9 cabinet members and several major agency heads addressed the mayors. I had some time to spend with Rocco Landesman, the chairman of the National Endowment of the Arts, and talk about some programs that are available in Washington that may in fact be beneficial to what we're doing to advance the arts here in Newport Beach. And we also had the opportunity as mayors to talk amongst ourselves about various issues that we all confront. And one of them was Mayor Arlene Mulder of Arlington Heights, Illinois. That's a suburb near the Chicago O'Hare Airport. They face the very same airport issues that we face. And she told me about a conference coming up here in San Diego that we were able to get plugged into. I understand Councilmember Daigle is going to be attending on the impacts of pollution on our community. And so through these networking opportunities, we're able to sort of increase our knowledge and share what we do here. I will share that people across the country know about and are very jealous of the settlement agreement that we have here in Orange County relative to our airport. I did have the opportunity to speak personally with the President's Intergovernmental Affairs staff and thank them because the President, I think he's maybe the first President since Roosevelt, has included money in the President's budget for dredging of lower Newport Bay. And we certainly appreciated that. So, and for the record, it was not at city expense, but it was a great trip.
But Keith, we had a Newport Beach resident that was with the president, pictured with the president. I didn't see a picture of you. Kobe Bryant was pictured with him this morning. I don't understand why you aren't getting the same press coverage.
Well, he's got a better press agent than I have, I think. I did shake the president's hand.
Is it possible they discovered you didn't have an appropriate invitation to be attending the event?
There might have been more than one here with that in that status.
So we won't be seeing you at a congressional hearing in the near future?
I've been to a congressional hearing. You never know. You never know. Okay, consent calendar. Madam City Clerk.
All matters listed under consent calendar, items 1 through 24, are considered by the council to be routine and will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. The city council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommending an action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the council votes on the motion unless members of the council, staff, or the public request specific items to be discussed and/or removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Members of the public who wish to discuss the consent calendar item should come forward to the lectern upon invitation by the mayor and state their name and item number. If the optional sign-in card has been completed, it should be placed in the box provided at the podium.
Are there any items to be pulled from the consent calendar? Councilmember Daigle.
Yes, I'd like to pull item 8. And then on item 21, I have just a comment consistent with our F20 policy, just disclose the compensation for the Administrative Services Deputy Director, $71.60 an hour, and Assistant City Manager, $88 an hour. So if you could just record my comments, please, and pull number 8.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gardner.
1 and 12.
Councilmember Webb.
I have none.
Councilmember Selich.
I have none.
Councilmember Rosansky.
None, thank you.
Councilmember Henn.
I'm sorry, I thought Councilwoman Daigle pulled number 8.
She did.
No, I didn't.
You did not
I
pull
just asked to record comments. So
All right.
I think
I'm
Councilwoman
pulling number
Gardner.
8.
Okay. Councilmember Henn.
I'm sorry, I did pull 8. I thought you were on the point.
Yes, you did.
Right.
I wrote it down. So may I just clarify, you pulled 8, and you had comments on item number 21 that you wanted entered into the record, and you pulled items 1 and 12. Yes. Okay. You're testing me here.
And it's your turn. Do you have anything to pull?
I
Mayor
do
President?
not.
And I have nothing to pull. Does staff have anything to pull?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, item 3, that's a poll and a restatement with replacing the recommended action with the handout you have, which refers to the water-efficient landscaping. Imagine you could keep it on the consent calendar if you adopt the measure that's been given to the city clerk, which just refers to a different type of hearing than we're having today.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone from the audience have any item on the consent calendar they would like to pull? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar items 1 to 24, with the exception of items 1, 3, and noting that that's pulling and restating with the new handout for approval.
So it's staying, so it's for
So
clarity,
it's not
it's staying
pulled,
on the
it's-
item.
it's-
on the
We're
agenda.
clarifying that we're approving the new,
Right.
the new handout. And then items 8 and 12, and recording comments from Councilmember Daigle regarding item number 21.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion on any of the items on the consent calendar from any of the audience? All right, seeing none, please vote.
Motion unanimously carries.
Okay. First item is item number 1. Councilmember Gardner.
Yes, I have 4 corrections. Page 352 at the top of the page. Councilmember Gardner believed the city should encourage businesses to support each other by utilizing their services. Well, that's a nice sentiment, but what I really said was that where we give money to an organization from the city coffers, then those entities should make every effort in their purchases to support other businesses. On page 355, the 1, 2, 3, 4th complete paragraph, I was talking about sea level rise. The sand deposition was simply an example. So that was the topic there. It's just, I must have been particularly vague the last couple of meetings. And then on page 363, number 5, the 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph, the Coastal Bay Water Quality Committee did not take a position on the merits of the Poseidon project, period. We didn't suggest that we would be part of any meetings.
Okay.
And finally, on page 373, at the very bottom of the page, I didn't believe that the general plan refers to public views. I stated that they do. It's not a belief on my part, it's a fact. And I indicated that here we really got it wrong, that only one vantage point, not all vantage points, but only one vantage point would be considered because of the way the map is set up. Okay, got those?
Okay.
And with those corrections, I move the approval of the minutes.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this item? Anyone from the audience wish to speak? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Item 8, Councilmember Daigle.
Yes, thank you. This item is concerning the city's support of the 1-1 Marine Battalion, and first, I really appreciate the direction of the city manager as far as evaluating our organization. And over the years, the city has been very supportive of the events, and we're now faced with a situation where 25% of our administrative staff is leaving the city, and yet they have more burdens with ongoing budget analysis and so on. And if the city manager could please speak to a couple of issues. The first would be the level of support over the years, and then secondly, if you could speak to the parameters that you indicated you'll be establishing moving forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Daigle. Council members, I asked Admin Services to do a review of the staff time that the city has put forth in the past to the 1-1, again expressing a very worthy organization, and indeed a phase of the 1-1 where it was really getting organized and well supported by staff. And the annual hours is roughly 542. That's a lot of time. And that's in part why this item is coming before you. It's my intent, as well as Dick Kurth's, and Dick's in the audience as a loyal supporter of the 1-1 and a staff member as well, that the 1-1 be transitioned to a foundation where it requires less city time and input. We certainly wouldn't abandon it. We may assist with providing a meeting room, for instance, and providing information on our website, and kind of seeing what happens from there. I intend to evaluate their request closely and note the community benefit, and where it's appropriate, hopefully discuss that with you in advance of the needs so that you can see what we're committing to. Because, I certainly respect the role they've played in the community and want to maintain the city as a strong supporter.
I was also going to pull this, and for basically the same reasons. I'm really concerned. I agree. I mean, I think we all agree it's a wonderful cause. But to me, when I see that a foundation is being established, it seems to me that the very purpose of that is to move it away from the city and city support. And the authorization of future funding support, we look at all sorts of things that come in. I would imagine we would continue to support it. But I am very concerned about commitment of staff time. And I can see that we might want to be supportive initially, because obviously a brand new foundation is not going to have an employee probably. But to make it open-ended makes me uncomfortable. I would rather see us do it, say, for a period with an ability to look at it again, or to make it very clear, though, that this is not a permanent condition, that the city will always have staff supporting this foundation, particularly if the foundation grows to what it hopes to be, and it would have its own staff.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I will move the action
Second.
of the item.
Second.
If there's any public comment, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry. Yes, sorry. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Item 12.
Yeah, this is the software for the police department, and it sounds like a very good plan. Certainly, what we're doing now seems very inefficient and not as satisfactory as we'd like it. However, I did have a bit of a concern. If you go over to the third page of their report, of the provider's report, that heading Newport Beach Police Department, Daily Field Activity and Criminal Information Analysis Project. At the very bottom, there's a chart there. And it talks about issue, solution, comment. And it said, for example, it's going to create a central repository, may be able to take advantage of some of these things. And then the others are all dependent upon the fact that we are, changing the culture a bit. So I want to be sure that we're very clear that we're following up on all these issues, because it's not valuable to us to have a new software system as good as it is if we're really not utilizing it.
Yes, Councilman. I'm sorry, Councilman Garai. Yes,
That's all right. I have a very deep voice.
Yes, ma'am. This is a very worthwhile project, as you'd mentioned. Obviously, it's going to give us, as the report indicated, the capability to do some extensive crime analysis, as well as follow up on the activities of our officers from a management standpoint. And I noted in this graph, absolutely, that we will be following up on all these activities, and you can have my word on that.
Thank you. Move the action.
There's a second. Before we vote, I just had a quick question. Do we have a performance guarantee on this software? Do we have some type of warranty to ensure that it's going to perform?
We're in the process of establishing a licensing agreement, Mr. Mayor.
Very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Excellent. And we've checked references of other people who've used this application?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have.
Very good. Okay. Please vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Public comment on this item? Seeing none, please vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. It's now time for oral reports from city council members on committee activities. We'll start on this side this time with Councilmember Selich.
I have none this evening.
Councilmember Rosansky.
None, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Henn.
None, thank you.
Councilmember Daigle.
Yes, next Wednesday, February 3rd, the Santa Ana Heights Project Advisory Committee will be having their meeting at the fire station. It begins at 6:30 p.m. And the PAC has accomplished many things during their tenure, including the construction of the Santa Ana Heights Fire Station. And so we're very appreciative of all of their assistance and their leadership. And that will take place again Wednesday, February 3rd. And then our Citizens Aviation Committee met yesterday, and the presentation that we had was the same presentation the city manager gave today at the study session. I think a very important one on our 2010 approach to aviation issues. And I appreciate the mayor sharing information on that conference pertaining to environmental impacts, which has always been a cornerstone of our strategy. And one of the things that I do want to report to the citizens is that the county has indicated a desire to negotiate the settlement agreement in 2011. This is not a timeline that was established by the city, and however, I think we will respect their wishes and be willing to speak with them and see what they have to say. So that would be my announcement on the Citizens Aviation Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gardner.
At the Coastal Bay Water Quality Committee meeting, we had two presentations. The first concerns a new state program, proposed state program, that would affect marinas. Any marina that had 10 or more boats would have to pay exorbitant amounts to do water quality studies, essentially. And the estimation for the city as a whole, the marinas in the city, would be about a $7 million a year cost to do this. We were concerned, not that this committee in particular doesn't support water quality, that's what we're all about. What we were concerned about was that this was a lot of money for studies and not a penny for water quality improvement. And so we've asked the city to follow up on this and keep an eye on this, and so that we have our say as it comes into public hearings. The second was a presentation by our own code enforcement head, John Kapler, and our treasurer, Dr. Jack Skinner, who had done an experiment, almost like a high school experiment in some ways. I mean, it was so casual, but so interesting that it's being published in a scientific journal, a peer-reviewed scientific journal, and it upends some very commonly held thoughts about water quality impacts, particularly when it comes to urban runoff. And since the Regional Water Quality Control Board is setting up total maximum daily loads, we want to be sure that they're doing it based on science and not on old ideas that we have had for the past 20 years. And so we have encouraged the city to work with the Orange County Public Health Agency in presenting this information to the Regional Quality Control Board so that we are sure that when they make a decision that's going to cost us money, that it is based on good science.
Thank you. Councilmember Webb. I have none. And I have none tonight. It's now time for public comments. Madam City Clerk.
Public comments are invited on non-agenda items generally considered to be within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record.
Is there any member of the public who'd wish to speak on a matter not on the agenda this evening? Please come forward. State your name, please.
Councilman and Councilwoman, my name is Bradley Arnold. I have a prepared speech if you'd like to hear it as well. So. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Bradley Arnold, and I'm a resident of Newport Beach. This evening, I'd like to introduce for the council's consideration an important matter in civil legislation, which has become increasingly relevant in nearby municipalities while remaining relatively obscure in our own. Tonight, I wish to discuss with you the issue of medical cannabis dispensing collectives and their legal right to operate within the city. Medical cannabis legislation has been a part of the California law since voters passed the Compassionate Use Act of 1996, allowing for the medicinal use of cannabis in the treatment of any condition for which it provides relief. The main intent of the law was to provide safe access to medication for patients in need, yet still 14 years later, the ambiguities of local regulation foster the exact opposite. Indeed, the City Council of Los Angeles recently passed the first reading of regulations aimed at curbing the sheer number of dispensaries operating within the city. Los Angeles is a textbook example of how the lack of responsible regulation works against the city in allowing for fly-by-night operations to exist. Many cities throughout the state have effectively banned these so-called dispensaries to seemingly curtail local crime and community nuisances. However, this goes against the spirit and the intent of the Compassionate Use Act of 1996 in providing access to all patients in need. I will also present supporting documentation showing that responsible dispensary regulation actually combats local crime, and it is most certainly not a source of community complaints. In order to truly understand the need for dispensaries, we must first define them. I don't like using the term dispensary because it implies that the medicine will be freely dispensed to any willing customer. This could not be farther from the truth, and as such, I prefer the term collective or cooperative, the correct nomenclature used by U.S. Attorney General Holder's guidelines for federal prosecutors in applying the Compassionate Use Act. A collective that dispenses cannabis is typically organized as a limited liability company operating in a non-for-profit manner or a mutual benefit nonprofit organization, both statutory legal entities within the state of California. Certain members of the collective grow medicine on behalf of those who are not able to do so due to lack of necessary knowledge, time, or money. The collective receives the medicine from members growers and distributes it among patients in need. Using this model ensures that the collective operates in a closed-loop environment, isolated from the illicit market of cannabis, and allows for only member-grown medicine to be distributed. Operators of these collectives are allowed reasonable salaries as compensation. However, as a true nonprofit collective, will reinvest revenue after expenses into additional services to offer patients, such as on-site doctors, legal coaching, meals, etc. Now that we have a short background and a comprehensive definition, allow me to discuss the revenue-generating possibilities that collectives have for the city. In accordance with the Mayor's Cost Recovery Ordinance, I urge this council to consider the possibilities of taxation on this new types of business. With the city facing a multi-million-dollar deficit, why not at least consider the responsible means of cost recovery through the regulation of cannabis dispensing collectives? The city of Oakland was the first to enact a direct tax on the sale of marijuana, imposing a 1.8% gross receipts tax. May I continue?
Time's up.
Okay. Only about 2 more sentences.
Two more sentences are fine.
Okay, wonderful. To put this in perspective, one of the larger Oakland collectives, Harborside Health Center, does in excess of $35 million a year in gross annual revenue, or over $400,000 in taxes generated for the city through one collective alone. As the current owner of a cannabis dispensing collective, I implore this council to examine the benefits of allowing collectives to exist in this city, and I will make myself and legal counsel readily available to assist in the drafting of proposed regulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there other speakers? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment. Item number 25, adoption of a resolution to amend the membership and purpose and responsibilities of the Charter Update Commission and to confirm appointments to the Charter Update Commission. City Clerk, you want to discuss how we're going to do this?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. The staff report before you tonight does a number of things. First, it amends the membership of the Charter Update Commission. Currently, it consists of 7 citizens of the community appointed by the City Council. Mayor Curry is suggesting that the commission also include a non-voting council liaison and alternate non-voting liaison. This change in membership is reflected in the draft resolution. Mayor Curry would like to appoint Mayor Pro Tem Henn as the non-voting council liaison and himself as the alternate non-voting council liaison. Secondly, the resolution amends the current resolution, which indicates that the charter commissioners must be able to attend meetings on specific predetermined dates. As written, this provides no flexibility in scheduling meetings. The suggested language for more flexibility is reflected also in the draft resolution. Additionally, staff identified 2, my apologies, the staff report mentions 4, but 2 areas of possible update for the charter update review. The revised list is attached as Exhibit C to the staff report. One issue deals with a procedure for a capital improvement tax so that it can be made consistent with Proposition 218. And the other issue deals with misdemeanor penalties to allow for flexibility in setting the penalties in the future. Lastly, Council will also be appointing the 7 commission members. This will be done by paper ballot. Candidates must receive at least 4 votes in order to be appointed. So staff is recommending that Council adopt the resolution which amends the membership and purpose and responsibilities of the Charter Update Commission and updates the areas of possible update to the Charter, and confirm the mayor's appointments of Mayor Pro Tem Henn as the non-voting council liaison and himself as the alternate non-voting council liaison, and make the 7 appointments from the 14 applications submitted to serve on the Charter Update Commission. It would be appropriate to adopt the resolution and confirm the council liaison positions first and then conduct the commission selection process. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
I voted. I would move the first issue.
Is there a second on the motion to? Second. Okay, there's a second. Does anyone from the audience wish to speak on the matter of changing to allow for a council representative and the other changes as outlined by the city clerk? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, we're now going to vote on the members of the committee. I do see one of the candidates in the audience. If you'd like to speak, please feel free to come forward now.
Sid, oh, I see.
Okay. And let me, while we're passing out the ballots, let me make one comment. I've had a call from a couple of civil service commissioners concerned that this is an effort to abolish the Civil Service Commission. Let me just state for the record that that is not on the agenda, that is not one of the issues that they're looking at, and put that to rest currently. So with that, please vote. Councilmember Daigle.
Sure. There is not a representative identified for District 1. I don't know if there's flexibility with business, if you can address that issue.
Well, there is flexibility to deviate from having one representative from each council district. That's a desirable goal. There are people who live in other districts who work in District 1 who are on the ballot, or anybody else that you'd like to vote off the list.
Okay, so just vote for 7 then, vote 1 per district.
Well, our ordinance encourages district diversity and representation.
Okay.
But it doesn't mandate it.
But it doesn't mandate it.
Thank you, sir.
Your name's up here.
Thank you.
Did- Okay. And remember, they are voting for 7, so this might take a little while. For Councilmember Selich, he is voting for Marion Bergeson, Rush Hill, Hugh Logan, Dennis O'Neill, Karen Ryan, Larry Tucker, and Paul Watkins. Councilmember Rosansky, Mary Bergeson, Rush Hill, Hugh Logan, Dennis O'Neill, Karen Ryan, Larry Tucker, and Paul Watkins. Mayor Pro Tem Henn, Marion Bergeson, Philip Betancourt, Rush Hill, Richard Lors, Dennis O'Neill, Larry Tucker, and Paul Watkins. Councilmember Daigle, Marion Bergeson, Rush Hill, Richard Lors, Dennis O'Neill, Karen Ryan, Larry Tucker, and Paul Watkins. Councilmember Webb, Marion Bergeson, Rush Hill, Dennis O'Neill, Karen Ryan, Tully Seymour, Larry Tucker, and Paul Watkins. Councilmember Gardner, Marion Bergeson, Rush Hill, H. Warren Knight, Hugh Logan, Dennis O'Neill, Tully Seymour, and Paul Watkins. And Mayor Curry, Marion Bergeson, Rush Hill, Richard Lors, Dennis O'Neill, Karen Ryan, Larry Tucker, and Paul Watkins. I count 6 members with over 4 votes who are Marion Bergeson received 7, Rush Hill received 7, Dennis O'Neill received 7, Karen Ryan received 5, Larry Tucker received 6, and Paul Watkins received 7. So, let me see. Hugh Logan received 3, Philip Betancourt received 1, H. Warren Knight received 1. Tully Seymour received 2. So the next vote would be between Hugh Logan and Tully Seymour?
Richard Lors.
Oh, my apologies. And Richard Lors received 3. So between Hugh Logan and Richard Lors. And no, I actually have a second ballot. And the names are on the top. And only vote once, please. Have to say it.
I feel that this second vote, we need to also consider districts so that we, okay, I'll vote.
Thank you. Okay, for the second vote, Councilmember Webb voted for Richard Lors. Councilmember Selich voted for Hugh Logan. Councilmember Rosansky voted for Hugh Logan. Mayor Pro Tem Henn voted for Richard Lors. Councilmember Daigle voted for Richard Lors. Councilmember Gardner voted for Hugh Logan. And Mayor Curry voted for Richard Lures. Richard Lures is also now on the Charter Update Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, it would be my intention, given those who are elected, to name Marion Bergeson as chairman of this commission, and I would ask for your concurrence. Is there any objections? Okay. Marion Bergeson will be the chairman of the commission. Congratulations, Marion. You have your job cut out for you. First meeting is scheduled for February 2nd. Of course, now under the new provisions, you can go and you can cancel the meeting, but plan for February 2nd.
And since I will not be able to attend that meeting on February 2nd, Mayor Curry, I guess, will be filling in as my alternate. So.
Next item is item 26, purchase and sale agreement for the acquisition of 608 East Balboa Boulevard and 209 Washington Street. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, this is indeed the purchase of the Balboa Market at 608 East Balboa. I put this on your discussion item because it was a significant action. The staff report is fairly clear. I believe Lee DeSantis is here, and certainly Sharon Wood, in case you have questions about it, but I didn't want to make a big presentation about it because you're quite familiar with the sale.
Any questions?
I was just going to move the action item.
A second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to speak on this matter?
I would just make a comment before we proceed to vote. I view this as a very strategic action on the part of the city to immediately provide additional parking in the Balboa Village area, but also to provide flexibility, strategic flexibility for parking in the future. It's very clear to me that the revitalization of the Balboa Village depends in large part on the ability for property owners who wish to redevelop their property to be able to comply with city code regarding parking needs. And I think it's my view that that's the principal impediment that we're dealing with here. And so I'm very pleased that council is considering this action tonight, and look forward to closing that transaction, and then look forward to doing a visioning effort for the Balboa Village that will provide the next stepping stone along with the parking study that we're doing. So I think it will not be very long, and we should have all of the fundamental elements in place to allow for revitalization of that area, which of course still depends upon individual property owners and their entrepreneurial spirit, but I'm hoping the removal of impediments will allow for that to happen. So thanks so much, and I look forward to the future with this.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
Could I make one additional comment, which is what I thought Mayor Pro Tem Henn was going to say, because he made note of it at the Economic Development Committee meeting. And that's just to emphasize the fact that the funds for this purchase are not coming from the general fund. We've outlined in the staff report the three specially reserved parking funds that we are using. So for the first year's payment and for the demolition of the building and the construction of the surface parking lot, that will all be coming from restricted parking funds.
Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for your leadership on this and your negotiating ability to help to make this come about. It's going to be a great asset for the community, and you should be very proud of it. Any further comments? Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, motion for reconsideration.
A motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the City Council at either this meeting or the previous meeting may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
Is there a motion for reconsideration? Seeing none, we have two adjournments in memory of tonight. The first is somebody who's known to, I think, many of us in the Newport Beach community and who has been an institution, really, in Newport Beach, and that's Amelia Seton. She was a longtime Newport Beach resident and the founder of the Balboa Island landmark Amelia's Restaurant, who passed away on January 9th. Born in Italy and raised on the Amalfi Coast, she met U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Gregor Seton after World War II, and they married on the Isle of Capri. The Setons moved to the U.S., settled in Los Angeles, and soon began to spend vacations with their young family on Balboa Island. One of the family's favorite restaurants was the island's Cape Cod House. They purchased the restaurant in 1961 and changed its name to Amelia's. 6 years after its opening, the Seatons moved their family from Los Angeles to Balboa Island so they could concentrate on the restaurant full-time. The family has owned and lived in the same house on Topaz ever since. Locals and visitors have enjoyed Amelia's authentic Italian cuisine for nearly 5 decades. In addition to her family and her restaurant, Mrs. Seaton gave of her time as a church volunteer and spent countless hours campaigning for the Republican Party. She was preceded in death by her husband, Gregor, who died in 1987. Mrs. Seaton is survived by her daughter, Hetty, her husband, John Robinson, son, Randy Seaton, and granddaughter, Alexandria, and her husband, Benjamin Richardson. Pamela and I were in Amelia's just shortly before Amelia passed away, and Hetty was regaling us with stories of the founding of the restaurant and how much Amelia loved Newport Beach and loved coming down here and living here. And she will be sorely missed. Our second adjournment is for Herb Lee. Herb is a longtime resident of Cameo Highlands who is, on December 22nd, lost a 25-year battle with cancer. If you've been to Herb's home in the Cameo Highlands, you know he's tremendously proud of the orchards that he has behind his home and his fruit trees and just the beautiful spot that he's created there on the back corner. Herb leaves behind his wife Karen, Amy and David, his children, and 3 delightful grandchildren. Herb was a member of my college fraternity. He was a few years ahead of me, and he was known for having the record for swallowing the most goldfish. Now, I don't know that it was ever actually documented by those who do that, but if you watched Herb throw back a few, you know it was probably true. So he was a great fellow. He will be sorely missed by his family and friends, and we adjourn tonight in his memory along with Amelia's.